Okay, y'all. It's story time, and I have a confession. I did not become a doula simply because I think birth is beautiful. I mean, it is, don't get me wrong, but that's not what got me here. I became a doula because Black women are dying, and I can see exactly where the system is dropping the ball. I've spent my whole life obsessed with how and why things work, especially systems. Along the way, I figured out how to break the bad ones and build something better in its place. For me, birth work and systems infrastructure are interdependent. Hello, my name is Leah Hairston. I am a seasoned doula and social worker, as well as the CEO and founder of Sweet Bee Services, a concierge doula agency on a mission to end maternal mortality. Through direct service, education, and technology, we've supported families along the East Coast of the U.S. for a decade with a 100% survival rate. Welcome to my channel. I grew up as one of four kids born in just 5 years. In my house, pregnancy, birth, and breastfeeding weren't medical events. They were normal, natural parts of life. I was that kid who was constantly asking, but how are babies made? And why does the baby eat that way? And how and why and how and why on repeat. And as I got older, I realized that my normal was not everyone's reality. I started hearing the threads of trauma in the stories of the women in my family. There were stories of pain that weren't addressed or listened to. And then I remember being 11 years old. I was watching a birth story on TLC and having this epiphany. The white women on the screen were having a fundamentally different experience than the Black women I knew. It was a disconnect that I felt in my gut before I could explain it with data. My circle of women are strong, beautiful, elegant, hilarious, nurturing women who deserve respect. And that's the lens through which I see all women, especially other Black women. But that was incongruent with the care they received on screen. Later, I learned the data that backed up what I was seeing. Black women are 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy related causes than white women, regardless of their income or education. I didn't have the words for racialized medicine or obstetric violence at that time, but I knew something was wrong. And that curiosity was fueled by my all girls K through 12 education at Roland Park Country School. It's a space that empowered me to believe girls and women's voices always matter. By the time I was a senior, shadowing my gynecologist, I was certain I was going to be an OBGYN. I headed to Howard University as a pre-med major, and I was ready to change the world. At Howard, I explored the richness of my identities as a Caribbean Afro-Latina. I wanted to tie my Spanish language and cultural studies to my Blackness for the first time academically. My honors bilingual thesis in 2014 looked at the Guatemalan Civil War. I began to see how colonialism intentionally dismantled patriarchal societies and removed respect for women. Although my own experiences as a Black woman to that point had shaped a certain understanding of the world, this concept was reinforced for me once again. The mistreatment of Black and Brown bodies today is not a glitch, it is a systemic legacy. Back in 2014, I almost went to law school. I had taken a job at House of Ruth, Maryland, working in intimate partner violence. I was literally in the middle of taking the LSAT when I had a realization. I didn't want to just argue the law. I wanted to be aligned with social justice and fix the layers of the system. So I pivoted. I applied to only one program, Columbia University. I chose it because it's the oldest social work school in the country, but specifically because they focused on executive leadership and management. I wasn't just learning to be a clinician, I was learning to be the CEO of a business that is designed to further social justice. While I was starting my program at Columbia in the fall of 2015, I was working as a school social worker. I was leading groups for young women and working closely with teen moms, and it really solidified for me that I needed to be in the birthing space. And that is when I met my first Black doula. She told me about her training, so I applied for a scholarship, and in April of 2016, I officially became a doula. That June, I sat in a local Starbucks and wrote the vision for Sweet Bee Services in my journal. I didn't waste any time. Between June and August of 2016, I supported 8 families in 8 weeks across New York City, all while working at the Fresh Air Fund by day. That summer was my aha moment. I realized that even with my training, I was still woefully unprepared for the sheer depth of care families need while navigating birth and postpartum. When I went back for my second year of grad school that fall, I took a role in prison reform and research at the Vera Institute of Justice. From fall 2016 through April 2017, I was deep in macro level data. Most people saw these as separate worlds, prison reform and birth work. But to me, they were intersecting. I was learning exactly how macro systems impact marginalized bodies, and I was bringing that systems fluency back to my clients. I graduated in May 2017 and moved back home to Baltimore that June. I brought Sweet Bee Services with me. I didn't move back with just my degree and a side training. No. I moved back with a mission to change how the system itself functioned. By 2021, I was the chief of staff and director of operations at a nonprofit, but I was also supporting 27 birthing families a year by myself. I was exhausted, let's be honest, but I was obsessed with fixing the broken birthing system. I had become a founding member of the National Black Doula Association and began teaching new doulas. I also decided to go back to finish my pre-med requirements, and I was taking the MCAT, y'all. Once again, as I sat there taking this test, something shifted. I realized that being one doctor wasn't enough for me. I wanted to improve the entire system through which people receive care. I didn't just want to catch babies. I wanted to build the infrastructure that kept those babies and parents safe before they even got to the hospital. So I chose the agency model over med school. I poured myself into becoming a certified lactation counselor, a childbirth educator, a placental encapsulator, and a spinning babies practitioner. I also used my background as a dancer and my life experience around professional athletes to understand body mechanics. I wanted to know how to shorten labor, reduce tearing, and speed up postpartum healing through movement and protocol. In dance, we learned that if your alignment is off by even an inch, the whole movement can fall apart. I realized birth is the same way. By using things like spinning babies and biomechanics, we aren't just waiting for birth to happen. No, we are optimizing the body's path of least resistance. I wasn't just a doula anymore. I became a systems fluent birth strategist. 2023 were tough financially, but the demand for our care was skyrocketing. That's also when we were named a semifinalist for Pharrell Williams' Black Ambition Prize. That program was a mirror. It showed me how to marry my deep clinical heart with a high level business strategy. We followed that by winning the grand prize at the Johns Hopkins Social Innovation Lab. Suddenly, B wasn't just Leah in a Starbucks or running around New York. No, I had mentors, I had coaches, and we rapidly expanded to a team of 15 healthcare professionals. We had nutritionists, pelvic floor experts, and intentional doulas on our team. But the biggest milestones really came in 2024 and 2025. We became an officially designated Maryland Medicaid approved doula training organization. I spent those years back in the weeds of policy and research. I co wrote the curriculum for Morgan State University's Doula Bridge Research Program. I also wanted to make sure that the research being done on Black families was by Black people and for Black people. So I accepted the role of senior health consultant for the National Black Child Development Institute. At NBCDI, I designed, launched, and led the Black Infant and Maternal Health Task Force. Our team had funding from the Bezos Family Foundation, and we started paint parties as a model for community-based research. We used my coloring book for new moms to help Black women process their birth stories through community and art. Now, in 2020, we're celebrating 10 years of Sweet Bee Services. When I look back at that 11-year-old girl watching TLC, I want to tell her we did it. We built a pathway where expert doulas provide care that is aligned with the highest clinical principles of midwives and physicians. We maintain a 100% survival rate, and it's not because we're lucky, but it's because we work in the spaces between the systems. We work at the micro level in people's homes, the meso level in the community, and the macro level with government and institutions. We've created a streamlined process where the person providing the care is just as supported as the person receiving it. And we've supported the most complex, high risk, and medically fragile cases. We've shown that when you combine clinical excellence with cultural humility and respect, lives are saved. More than anything, this decade has taught me that you cannot do this work alone. Whether you are a family looking for a concierge team that understands the depths of your needs, or you're a birth worker looking to become an expert in the field, I'm going to invite you into our circle. Come join my newsletter. It's the best way to get to know the heart of our work, stay updated on our services, and find out how you can work with us directly. My name is Leah Hairston. I am the founder of Sweet Bee Services, and we are just getting started. Subscribe to stay in the loop, and I'll see you in the next video.